The Lakers agreed to acquire Anthony Davis from the Pelicans on Saturday, according to the man sitting to my left. Davis expressed that he wanted out of New Orleans back in January. It's been a long, strange road to get here, but they finally arrived. Davis comes at a steep price. The Lakers sent Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, Josh Hart, and 3 first-round draft picks in the other direction, including the number 4 pick in this year's draft, which is Thursday. For now, the expectation is the deal will be completed on July 6th, the end of the free agent moratorium. If Davis does not waive his $4 million trade bonus, the Lakers at that point would have $23.7 million in cap space. And while it sounds a little dry, the date in all of this is extremely significant, so I want you to listen as Woj explains why the timing of the finalization, whatever the word is, of the deal is extremely important.
Well, it has to do with that 4th overall pick and how that impacts the Lakers salary cap. If they were able to push the completion of this deal to the end of July, they would have up to $32.7 million in cap space. But if that deal's done on the 6th of July, which is the Pelicans' expectation, now you're looking at almost $10 million less in cap space. That's the difference between being able to sign a max-level player and having $23.7 million and being able to probably have to maybe split that up among a couple guys. Now, the Lakers have a little more they could do, and they could get more salary off. But Kyle Kuzma, they're going to keep him. They're not dumping Kyle Kuzma into cap space somewhere to add a couple million.
Well, isn't that dependent upon the Lakers, AD actually waiving his trading bonus?
Well, there's that part of this as well, right?
That would give them another $4 million. So that 23 would go to 27. I'm told so far he's got no plans to waive that trade bonus. It would allow them to be able to do some more things in free agency, but it's his call.
So again, there are 2 separate factors that remain to play out as far as exactly what the Lakers will have to offer. If Anthony Davis waives his trade bonus, that's $4 million. If the Pelicans were somehow to agree to push the timing of this trade back to the end of July, which does not seem likely, you're telling us, that would open up essentially a max spot. So as we sit here right this minute, Jalen Rose, what does this mean? Anthony Davis, LeBron James, Kyle Kuzma, and who knows what else in Los Angeles. How good is that team?
It means the Lakers are the best team in basketball on paper, regardless of what happens with the draft and depending on what happens with free agency. And when Kevin Durant gets injured and Klay Thompson get injured in the NBA Finals, you have a realistic window for the league to be wide open. And so for the Lakers, you need to go for it. For the Pelicans, you have the number 1 pick in Zion. It makes it easier for you to move a guy like Anthony Davis. It's a win-win for both sides.
I walked away from this whole thing looking at the scenario saying the Lakers have the best negotiator in the game, and his name is Rich Paul. Almost in a way. I mean, Rich Paul has orchestrated this whole thing with AD. Jay Rose, you said it last year. I got some time to spend with him in Toronto, and just hearing Rich talk, like, I think we actually look over it sometimes. Like, he's very strategic in his approach to this whole thing. He's very informative, he understands, and he's a master plotter. And for him to get AD in the direction that he always wanted AD to be with LeBron James, now you have a team that's going to be the favorite to win the title, and they still have to put pieces around. But I think Rob Pelinka now has to come to the table and say, how do I formulate the best team? Is that a J.J. Redick or some ancillary pieces?
Well, I think you look at the teams in the last few years who've had success. You've got to have depth. You've got to have a bench. And this is a team that's going to largely be built around minimum deals around, can you go get a Jared Dudley on a minimum deal? Players, veteran players who and history has shown, when the Lakers had great teams, it was a magnet for that kind of a player on a 1-year minimum deal. They're going to have to really load up on them. And listen, teams like Milwaukee, we'll see what Toronto looks like next year. We'll see what Philly looks like. But having a bench, the Lakers certainly susceptible to one injury when you're built that way. So while they're going to be a contender, they're going to be outstanding. I still think that roster is going to have to look a lot different for them to be able to sustain a very long season, playoffs, and have a second unit that doesn't get crushed.